Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our practice for August the 24th, 2023. Come to seated towards the front of your chair, close your eyes, and prepare yourself for our practice. Prepare yourself to be focused on our practice for the next 60 minutes. Good morning, Marie. And let's ready ourselves for practice by closing the eyes, stacking the spine, and turning our attention inward to the breath. Initially observing the breath, noticing where it's moving. Is it coming from the top of the lungs or is it getting deeper into the lungs? Is the belly moving? What other parts of the body might you feel moving at this time? In a number of our practices over the past few weeks, we've been focusing on the pelvic floor. Can you feel any movement in the pelvic floor as you inhale and exhale? Are the lower ribs moving, the sternum, and perhaps the shoulders even moving gently up and down? And now we've created that focus on the breath. Can we begin to deepen the breath? Consciously taking the breath into the lower lungs and knowing we're achieving that by feeling the belly expand with each inhale breath and contract with each exhale breath. Even the flow of breath between the inhale and exhale breath. And now begin to gradually extend the exhale breath so that it's perhaps 50% longer than the inhale breath, or maybe even up to 100% longer than the inhale breath. Let's take one more full round of the breath here, filling the lower reaches of the lungs with the breath. And now come to sitting, take the arms to the side of the body. Position the feet so the heels are under the knees and their feet are about hip distance apart. Look at the feet, look at the base of the second toe, draw a line from the base of the second toe to the center of the ankle and align a line parallel in the left and right foot. Continue that line up through the center of the knee, along the thighs, and that line is going to end about at the head of the hip bone. where the hip is seated in the hip socket. Let's inhale the arms overhead and exhale the hands back to heart center. Inhale up. Exhale back to heart center. And final time, inhale and exhale back to heart center. Let's continue to warm up the arms by inhaling the arms, interlacing the fingers, and pressing the palms up towards the ceiling. As we press the palms up, draw the elbows in and pull the shoulder blades down the back. Up, in, down. Press the arms, lower the arms to be straight in front of you, palms facing towards me. Once again, press the arms out. Let the shoulder blades pull away from the spine as you extend the hands forward slightly, and then draw the shoulder blades back in towards the spine. So hands move out and in, out and in. Let's release the hands down. Once again, inhale the arms overhead, interlace the fingers, and now release the index fingers. Hug the biceps into the ears, lift the upper body out of the pelvis, and arc right. Inhale, come back through center, and try and distribute that arcing as evenly along the spine as you can. So lifting up, out, and going left. Inhale, come back through center, arc right. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, arc left. Inhale, return to center. Release the fingertips towards the floor. Check in with your seated mountain pose. Make sure that the spine is stacked over the sacrum. And now we're going to move side to side. So just go as far as you can while keeping the spine moving laterally. Inhale through center. Exhale for 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. And for those of you with any bone density issues in the spine, please keep those movements quite gentle and small. 5, 6, 6, and on 7, raise the left arm overhead, reach the fingertips across for 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11, and 12, and 12. Come back to center. Let's come into center now. Let's find our block. Find one of your blocks. And also, if you don't have your strap, we're going to use the straps as well after we use the block. So let's have your strap accessible as well. And maybe just before we start this work, let's put make a loop with your strap so it's available for a little bit later. So we're going to do some work. We're going to work on pressing, strengthening the muscles for the adductor muscles first, so the muscles that move the body in towards the center line of the body, and then we'll work on the abductor muscles that move the limbs away from the center line of the body. So let's take our block, stretch it out towards me, place the palms on the side of the block and hold it in strongly. And then let's draw those shoulder blades back in towards the spine and squeeze in and lift the block overhead for 1, 2, 2. If you don't have a block, you could grab a book. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Bring the elbows into the lower ribs and just squeeze try and compress the block by squeezing it with both hands. Let's work down the body now, taking the block, placing it between the thighs, squeezing, holding the block with the thighs. The block is about mid-thigh. Inhale here. Inhale the arms overhead. Keep the pressure on the block and take the left hand to the outside of the right thigh. And again, twisting towards our right side, keeping the twist gentle. Remembering this is our first twist of the day. The inhale, raise the arms up overhead, and then exhale, take the right hand to the outside of the left thigh and twist in the opposite direction. And just notice if there seems to be more ease or more freedom when you're twisting to the right or twisting to the left. Inhale, come back to center. Now, let's move that block down between the calves. And again, find that orientation of the block that's about right for you to keep the legs at approximately hip distance. So squeeze the calves into the blocks and try and, again, position the block at the most muscular part of the calf. So squeeze in. You can even bring the hands to the outside of the calves. Squeeze in and release. And while we're squeezing in, let's lift the arms overhead and exhale. Fold at the hips, fold over the legs. Let's bring the hands to rest on the thighs, and we're going to do that work where we do strengthen the triceps without weights. So we're going to press into the thighs. We keep the pressure into the center on the block, and then we're going to use the strength of the triceps to lift the upper body away from the legs. So press up with the triceps. Exhale, lean forward. Keep the pressure into center for 2, 2, 3, 3. Try and let the core relax, which is sort of 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. Squeeze the block. 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, and 10, and 10. 11, 11, and 12. And come back to center. Now, let's take that block and place it between the feet. And so we want the bases of the sides of the big toe to squeeze in to center, to squeeze the block. So squeezing the block with the bases of the big toes. And release. Squeeze in. And release. And once more, let's squeeze and release. We can now, we'll set our block aside and we'll find that strap that we made the loop in just a little bit earlier. So set the loop to roughly shoulder distance. So the ends of the loop are roughly here. Take the strap around the wrists. Thumbs are pointing up towards the ceiling. And now we're doing that. We're now doing the abductor movement with the arms. So we're doing the movement out with the arms. So elbows glued into the lower ribs, squeeze out, press, and let's lift and lower the arms for 1, 2, 3. Keep that pressure. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Extend the arms out in front towards me. Press the elbows, or I'm sorry, the wrists into the resistance of the strap. Roll the shoulder blades down the back and lift for 1 and lower for 1. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11, and 12, and 12. Now, moving down to the legs, so continuing to work on the abductor muscles, now working on the legs. So take that loop around both legs and bring that to the same position on the thighs that you had the block on the thighs. So adjust the strap so that with some gentle pressure on the strap, the knees are about hip distance apart. And now we're going to take the legs out to the side. We're going to press into the resistance of the strap to strengthen the abductor muscles of the legs. So we're getting some work coming into the glutes. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the pressure on the strap. Bring the strap onto the mid-calf. And let's press again. Maybe take the feet just a little wider and then use the strength of the legs to abduct. Pressing out for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And let's release the strap. Final thing, you can either use the strap in the loop or just loop the strap around both feet. Take the strap around the toe bases. Take the legs out in front of you. And now, those of you using flexi bands can just wrap that around the feet. And make sure we're on the bases of the toes. Press out to strengthen the muscles. Again, moving the toe, abducting the toes. Let's keep that pressure out and fold forward over the legs, perhaps grabbing your blocks, keeping the back nice and long, pressing out into the toes, and folding forward. Inhale, come up, and let's release the strap. Now, we can take the loop out of our strap. And now let's wrap the strap around the toe bases of the right foot. Come around the wrists. Draw the toes in towards the shin. Sit up. Drawing in and stretching out the calf muscles here on the right side. Is everybody that's doing this feeling a stretch in the calves? Yes, 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 yes. And let's release the right foot. Switch over to the left foot. Again, remembering to keep the strap just around the toe bases. Draw in. Feel the stretch in the calf muscles here. And let's release the left foot. We can set our straps and blocks aside and come back to our seated mountain pose now. Let's rock to the left side and just pull the flesh away from the sit bone on the right side. Rock left and pull the flesh away. And then wrap the hands around the right thigh. And we're going to wrap them around the thigh So coming across, so we can inner rotate the thigh muscles. So lift away again, rotate that thigh, inner rotation, go right, and then go left, and get a nice firm grounding of the sit bones on the seat of the chair. Option to pick up your weights. We're going to do some core work now. And just before we start into the core work, I want you to bring awareness to the core muscles down the front of the body. So start at the pelvic floor, lift the pelvic floor, trace that awareness all the way up along the core muscles on the front body, and now come to the back body, and again, bring some awareness to those muscles that run up and down the spine, and bring the muscles at the front and back of the body, coordinate them to find lift and strengthening of the muscles at the front and back of the body. Let's cross our arms over the chest using our weights. And we're going to inhale, keep that body, upper body nice and long. No rounding of the spine back towards the chair. Feel those front and back muscles supporting us as we lean back towards the chair for 1 and come forward for 1. Inhale back for 2. Exhale forward for 2. Inhale back for 3. Exhale forward for 3. Inhale back for 4. 4. 5. 5. 6. 6. 7. 7. 8. 8. 9. 9. 10. 10. 11. 11. And 12. Hold for 12. 11. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. And come back to neutral. Just release the arms. Take the arms forward, up, back, and down, and reverse the cross. Inhale back for 1. Forward for 1. 2. 2. 3. 3. 4. 4. 5. 5. 6. 6. 7. 7. 8. 8. 9. 9. 10. 10. 11. 11. And 12. And hold for 12. 11. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. And come back to neutral. Release the weights. Set the weights aside. And check in once again with seated mountain pose. Let's walk the legs slightly wider than hip distance. And let those knees sway into the center line or towards the right side. Come through center and go left. Come back to neutral. And just before we come up to standing, we're going to do some stretching work now. We'll do some stretching on the hip flexors, but we'll do a little strengthening work with the hip flexors just before. So I'm going to ask you to pick up the weights once again. Come to seated mountain. And come back to those core muscles we just worked to make sure they're supporting the spine, because we're going, with the weights resting on the thighs, we're going to lift the right leg for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, We'll do a second set of 12. So just come back to seated mountain. Bring awareness to the core once again. And if at the point, if you notice that you're rounding the back to lift the legs, stop at that point and don't add, that's, you've done enough reps when you can't hold the form. So let's lift for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, And now we can set the weights aside. So let's just stretch that front core, those core muscles out now a little bit. So bring the hands beside the back and interlace the fingers. Press the thumbs into the seat of the chair. And use that to lift the sternum. Exhale. I'm going to turn. You can either just shift the body to the side of the chair or turn on the edge of the chair. Try and bring the outside hip free of the chair and bring the knee underneath the hip and the heel over the toe on that extended leg. And then firm up the core so that the lower ribs aren't jutting forward. Take that stretch into the front of the thigh and see if you can level the hips. So that right hip, the outside hip is unsupported. See if you can bring the pelvis to level. Then stretch that leg all the way back. And we're working that leg towards straight. Again, strengthen the core muscles and let's see option to lift one or both arms away from the chair. And again, knowing if twists are you need to be observant. See if you can twist towards the chair. Really feeling that stretch into the hip flexors, those muscles at the front of the hip. Let's inhale, come back to center. Draw that outside leg in. Come through center. And now let's twist in the opposite direction. Again, this time, the leg that was on the outside is now supported on the chair. Drop that knee so the knee lines up, and think of a line coming up through the knee, through the hip, through the shoulder, the ear, and that line runs all the way up to the tip of the fingers. You'll notice if you draw the pubic bone slightly up, this will intensify the stretch. Let's release that arm, and now work that leg back towards straight. We're working towards straight, taking that stretch into the front, lifting maybe one arm, maybe both arms, and then seeing if we can intensify the stretch by twisting towards the chair. All the time supporting the front body with the core muscles and drawing that pubic bone up towards the navel. Inhale, come back to center. Draw that extended leg in. Come back to center. And let's just move the knees from side to side. Rehydrate by grabbing a drink now, and then we'll come up to do some standing work. So grab a drink, and let's come up to standing. Make sure that your chair is going to be stable during our standing work. Let's come to stand beside our chair. So we've done today, we've worked on the muscles that adduct and abduct the legs. So those are all the muscles that help us build stability when we're standing. We've worked on the core. Standing beside our chair, let's work with all those muscles and try and find a way to bring the right foot in front of the left. If you need to keep it a bit out to the side, do so. See if you can keep the chair handy for support. Find a focal point that's not the camera, that's not the screen. And strengthen those muscles we worked on to find stability here. And now take the right foot behind the left. Again, strengthening using all those muscles that we've just worked on to build stability. Focus on something other than the screen. And then let's come back to center. Let's, again, working beside our chair, play around with the distance, bring the big toes to touch, and let the hips sway out away from the chair, arcing the body towards the chair. If that feels good and you're feeling stable and comfortable, you can arc the hand, but keep drawing that shoulder, the upper shoulder, back as you arc towards the chair. Inhale, come back to center. Let's see if we can just move now, or let's step that outside foot out further and turn the chair side foot in so it's pointing towards the chair. Keep both legs straight and try and keep drawing that outside hip back slightly as this hip swings away and bring the elbow onto the chair. Try and line the elbow up with the shoulder. So draw a line from the chair, elbow, shoulder, go across and stretch up. And maybe see if you can lift and lower the toes on that foot that's towards the chair. And maybe even extend the arm across. Let's turn towards the chair. Once again, we're going to inhale, come back up. And now you can perhaps widen your stance a bit and bend the knee in towards the chair and lift the outside arm. You can support and lift the chair side arm for warrior two. Breathe here. Center the weight between the legs. Breathe. And let's release, turn down towards the chair. Lift that outside heel, step back, and come to our chair-supported downward dog. Hips over the heels. Strengthening those core muscles. Bend the knees slightly, strengthen the core. Draw the shoulder blades back, roll them out, and roll the lower arms in. Walk the feet in towards the chair. And we'll finish our work on this side with tree pose. So, build our foundation in the chair side foot. Lift the heel. You can just have the heel up. The ankle resting, or the heel resting on the ankle, the calf, or maybe all the way up to the inner thigh. Bring one and both hands to heart center. Lift and open the arms. Draw the hands back to heart center and release. Come back. And now either turn around or move the chair to the opposite side. So if I can remember that sequence, we'll try and do the same sequence on this side. So once again, let's begin by bringing that foot either in front of the other foot or moving towards being in front of the other foot, the front foot, and balance. and go behind. So again, finding it behind. And now bring the toes together. Let the hips sway away from the chair. So in a modified half moon, and then see if we can bring the arm up and out to the side. Inhale, come back to center. Step. The toes underneath the chair, straighten both legs. Try and get the hips lined up with the outside edge of the mat, the long edge. Let's extend the arms out, bend the chair side arm, bring the chair side arm to the back of the chair, and that arm can rest or extend. Reach across. Turn towards the chair, lift the back heel. Step back to our chair down dog. Bend the knees, firm the core, stretch the body out by drawing the upper thighs back and stretching the head forward. Once again, let's step foot in towards the chair. Let's bring the, you might want to create a bit more distance. Bend the chair side knee, lift the arms for warrior two. And try and keep the weight centered between the feet. So think about drawing the weight back towards that outside hand. Windmill the hands over, face the chair, step back to our chair down dog. And we're just going to do a couple of glute strengthening exercises here before we come back to do our repose. So stretch the right foot back. And let's lift, tap the toe for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and lift and stretch. And release, release. Whatever foot you did now becomes your anchor, and lift back and tap for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and opposite hand and arm. release, release, and just alternately bend one knee, then the other knee. Walk the feet in towards the chair, turn sideways. We'll finish our standing practice with tree pose. Again, the chair side foot is your foundation. Lift the heel, come to the ankle, calf, or thigh. Press into center. And think back to that adducting work that we did. Pressing everything into center, open the branches of our tree. Come back to center, release, and just shake things out before we come down to seated. Grab a drink, grab anything extra that you're going to need for final relaxation. And come to seated. Again, come back to our seated mountain pose. Find your blocks, bring them to the ankles. Inhale the arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold, hands either to the blocks or to the floor. Three breaths here. Beginning to slow down. 2, 3. Inhale, come all the way up. Hands return to heart center. Walk the feet out so the legs form a V. Bring the blocks into center. Inhale up. Exhale, fold hands to the blocks or the floor. Once again, breathe here. Two more breaths. Inhale, come up. Exhale, left hand to outside of right thigh. And twist right. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, right hand to outside of left thigh and twist left. Walk the feet back. Seated mountain. And let's take one cat-cow breath before coming to final relaxation. And if there's anything else that you feel you need to do to make your practice complete today, use these few moments before final relaxation to do those moves. So inhale, rise, lift the sternum. And exhale, round back. Inhale, come back to center. And when you're ready, slide back in the chair. Back is now supported by the back of the chair. Feet remain about hip distance. And begin that process of relaxation. Start the process by letting go of the control of the breath. Surrender the muscles to the support of the floor and the chair. And let the brain have a respite from planning, from revisiting the past, trying to foresee the future. And know that by giving the brain a few moments of calm and quiet, we may find that we're better equipped to cope with the stresses of life. Follow the breath, letting the breath become very soft and gentle. Let each exhale breath relax the body 5% more. Now begin to bring movement back to the body, deepen the breath, move the fingers, move the wrists, move the toes, move the ankles. Come back to the front of your chair, perhaps sway the knees side to side. Come back to seated mountain. I'm going to ask everybody to take a nice deep breath in and sigh or exhale out through the mouth. So even though we can't hear each other, make that a really loud, relaxed sigh. So inhale. Inhale, come back to seated mountain. Raise the arms overhead. Exhale the hands back to heart center. Thank yourself for making time for this practice. Thank each other for sharing your practice. And thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your practice. Thank you.